Hello, everyone. We're here for our webinar, Think8 Global Institute as a designated organization, explaining its role in the startup visa. As usual, we're going to wait for a few minutes for people to start jumping in. We have around 270 people registered, so we're going to probably have a lot of people attending. I would expect around 150. So I'm going to wait for a few minutes so that people can start jumping in. We have an amazing guest and an amazing topic. As I was saying, Think8 Global Institute as a designated organization explains its role in the startup visa. So we will be starting in just a minute. I see we have 90 people already connecting. I would love to know where everybody is right now. We have Richmond Hill, Ontario. I see a few names that are familiar. I see Phil Mooney from Burlington. Hi, Phil. Amazing to have you here. Simon, Shanaz, Arash, Teresita Galvan from Mexico. Amazing. Thank you, everybody, for joining. So I think we're going to be ready to get started. From Winnipeg, Max Wang. Thank you, everybody, for joining. One more minute and we're off. We're off to get started with this wonderful topic, Think8 Global Institute as a designated organization, explaining its role in the startup visa program. As everybody probably knows, we have a whole webinar coming up, and then of course we have Q&A at the end. There is a questions tab on the right hand side that you can access so that you can ask questions, and we're also going to check some of the questions that we received during the registration, so we're going to keep that in mind. Let me see. So the other thing is, of course, I appreciate everybody attending, everybody who is attending, and everybody who has registered. You're going to receive a recording at the end so that if there's anything that you missed or didn't hear well, you can always come back to the recording. And then, of course, on LinkedIn, I encourage you to follow me. I usually post our YouTube link there from all the webinars that we do. Okay. Okay. Okay, we have almost 100 people connected, so let's get started. Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this amazing webinar today with a wonderful guest. Today, the topic of the webinar is Think8 Global Institute as a designated organization explaining its role in the startup visa program. My name, as many of you know, is Marianela Mansour. I am the Global Director of Sales and Marketing at Joorney Business Plans. I'm here with key members of our wonderful sales team, Tanya, and our newest member, Nicola, both great account managers that make everything possible. I also want to thank our wonderful marketing team that always goes above and beyond to make this all happen. Thank you for being here, guys. As many of you know, we are a company that specializes doing business plans for immigration. It's been a while since I've included a brief introduction about Joorney, but I'm going to recap a bit about ourselves this time before we get started. We are a global company consisting of 4 offices: US, Canada, Australia, and France, with a team of more than 100 people preparing more than 6,000 business plans a year. You heard it right, it's now 6,000 since 2022, which gives us an incredible expertise in our field. Our Canadian office is focused on preparing business plans for the startup visa, the C10, the C11, PNPs, ICTs, and more. We bring our guest today to share valuable information directly from one of the designated organizations for the startup visa, Think8 Institute. We have been getting many questions from our partners about how to reach designated organizations to learn what they are expecting and how they work to learn about the process. And even though we're focused mainly on providing the business plan for this program, we want to bring an expert to provide the information firsthand. The designated organizations that attend our webinars are independent organizations that provide separate services from Joorney, which have been invited to share information. So I just wanted to clarify as a disclaimer that at Joorney, we are not providing any legal services or getting a letter of support for applicants. We are, of course, happy to connect you with designated organizations such as Think8. For the startup visa, what we've done is prepare different packages that are aligned to what the DO requires. And we have one for Think8. We want to make it easier for the applicant and the immigration practitioner to get their documents in line, and also make it more practical for the designated organizations for them to make the decision about providing the letter of support. Many of you already know our work at Joorney, and some of you may be new to us, and I welcome you all to this webinar. We are very grateful to have Mark Shekter join today, and we are excited to present our wonderful guest, Mark Shekter. As founder and CEO of the Think8 Global Institute, a designated organization headquartered in Montreal, Canada, Mark is recognized as a powerfully original thinker in helping individuals and organizations around the world achieve success in the fields of business, new technology, finance, media, global affairs, and the arts. Mark has pioneered an entirely new think to ignite collective creativity and focus towards real and sustainable social, economic, and environmental solutions. He has provided his expertise globally to startups, major companies, multinationals, and not-for-profit, generating billions in cumulative revenue. His innovative technology, Think8, has been adopted by university master's programs in management technology and entrepreneurship, training thousands around the world. As a designated organization, Think8 Global Institute, with its team of highly trained experts in all areas of business and technology, is committed to helping foreign entrepreneurs succeed in creating viable startups in Canada. With Mark's background, he brings his unique perspective on innovation and market disruption, offering a proven methodology to boost individual and corporate profitability and sustainability. So before I welcome our guest officially, I just want to say that knowing Mark for more than a year now, we've seen not only the program component, but the human component of this whole process. And because we share these values at Joorney as well, we're happy to give our work a magnificent purpose, and that's why Mark is here today. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for that very generous introduction.
No, thank you, Mark, for being here. I know you are very busy. I know that for a fact, and we're really flattered that you accepted our invitation. So I'm very happy to have everybody listen to what you have to say about Think8 and the purpose behind this all.
Great. Most welcome.
Wonderful, Mark. So let's get started with the questions.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about Think8, Mark, and how this all started before coming into the startup world. We even heard that there's a Hollywood background involved in all of this, so we would love to hear it and also understand why it's called Think8. So let's start from the true beginning.
All right. Well, Think8 as a company was co-founded by myself and my wife, Nancy Treitz-Botkin, and both of us have a background in the arts. Television production, film production, direction, producing, and writing, and composing. So what was learned in those days was really absolutely applicable to what is going on now with building businesses. You're taking an idea, and then you have to pitch the idea, and then you have to finance the idea, and then you have to crew it up, you have to produce it, and then you have to sell it. And so really you're the entrepreneur, even though we called it show business at the time, you really are in business. And that idea to an industry, an idea to a company that's active and profitable is really the basis of how Think8 approaches it. We're asked why Think8, it's think because it's a different way of looking at business. And there are 8 stages to the process, to the program that we offer in the SUV and outside. In fact, the SUV opportunity was really an extension of what we do every day. We are in the business of building businesses, starting with startups and then moving into multinationals, Fortune 500 companies. We love building businesses. We love seeing people take an idea at whatever stage of development, whether they're a mature company or a startup, and watch it grow. And we dedicate ourselves to that. So when the SUV opportunity came up and we got the designation, we were thrilled because we have the opportunity to build from the ground up, to help either build or accelerate businesses, business ideas, incubate them, and send them on their way. I mean, the startup visa program, as we will discuss, is unique. And it gives the opportunity for people from all over the world to actually participate in a program that I think is a very generous program by the Canadian government. We're very honored to be a part of that program and to provide our expertise and skills to make those dreams actually come true.
Thank you, Mark. And you were mentioning that the being a designated organization, of course, is something that happened recently. But you've been doing this for years, Mark, right? So can we learn a little bit about that?
Well, we've been in business almost 20 years in terms of building businesses. We've launched about 150 startups, and we've worked with multinationals, and I said corporations around the world. I think what is kind of unique about us in some respects is we've been in the world market. We've worked in Bangladesh, we've worked in Kuwait, we've worked in South Africa, we've worked in Europe, we've worked in the US, of course, the UK. I think that perspective brings a certain understanding of what's involved in international economies and culturally, even in our incubation, which we've done through university programs as well. We're dealing with entrepreneurs from around the world, and it's fascinating to us. It's a marvel to see the ideas percolating, and then our job from the Canadian point of view is to take those ideas and help them mature, really incubate them and give them the opportunity they deserve. So we've been out in the market for years. And when you're dealing with full-scale active organizations or a startup, there's a commonality, there's growth, there's purposefulness, there's a desire to build something of value. And we are really dedicated to that. So we bring that expertise and knowledge to the incubation program. And regardless of where they are in the world, and of course, like any incubators, business incubators and angel associations, they know how many opportunities are coming their way, and that it's our job to assess those that will qualify for the incubation program. So it really is being years in the business and then bringing that expertise to the startup opportunity.
Amazing, Mark. Thank you so much. And we've had a few conversations before planning this webinar about the underlying purpose, right? And I always say that I really love this program because what it's doing, it's bringing amazing talent to Canada. And through these programs that people get the support that they need so that they can be successful. And that can also be replicated, generating jobs, bringing innovation into Canada. So a lot of that is that like reminding ourselves what the purpose of the program is, and making that a main differentiating factor for Think8, the purpose that lies behind it, right?
Well, business to us is personal. I mean, I've had people, call us or write us and go, "Oh, I'm actually talking to a designated organization." And I go, "Yes, of course. You're talking either to my wife, the president, you're talking to our team, you're talking to me, and you're saying, how can you help us?" So our approach to business being personal is, well, what is it that you're trying to handle? Where are you in your development? What is it that you're trying to do? And I think it's really critical from a point of view of an incubator, certainly a business incubator, that you really are looking at the intent behind the idea. We can focus on the idea, and we'll get into more specifics with your questions, I'm sure. But the intent of that individual or individuals who want to come to Canada and build their future here. And we're very sensitive to that idea. These are people who've made the choice to move, often family, colleagues, associates, their livelihood to a country that they don't know. And we take that viewpoint of respectfully understanding that this is a big step, not only in the investment side, but in the cultural side and the lifestyle side. So we talk, we are accessible, we listen, we have to understand the circumstances. And what is unique about and what we love about the startup program is it gives those people the opportunity to immigrate, to get a permanent residency, ultimately, if they qualify and go through these steps of really building future here. Mm-hmm. So what we provide to them, we've provided to businesses internationally. It is always a marvel that no matter how profitable an organization is, no matter where it's located in the world, when you sit down with that board of directors or the executive strata, and this is saying the obvious, but sometimes we forget, they're people with issues and problems and lives and backstories, and they want to build their business, make it better, and we sit down and get real about it. Well, that experience then, when we bring it to the Startup Visa program, is a very natural extension for us.
Amazing, Mark, and thank you for reminding us of that human element. And that resonates a lot with us. I usually tell our team whenever we're doing the training that even though we're doing the business plan, all of this, it's bigger than that. And it's not only about the business, it's about everything that's happening around it and the impact that it has as a whole.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Mark, for this interesting introduction. And I wanted to go back a little bit to the basics. Let's remind our attendees of the process for the SUV and what are the basic requirements, who is eligible, so we can start from the basics.
For sure. Well, from a business incubator point of view, our focus is the business and the people behind it. That's saying, again, the differentiating factor between a business incubator and those who are handling the immigration. The lawyers, the experts in immigration law, how they can help somebody, even qualify to come to Canada. That's a prerequisite, obviously, for us to take on any applicant. Where we enter the picture is that all that in place, all the background checks, very standard stuff. We then look at the idea, and it really has to follow three things. The government is very specific about it, and it's a very generous approach that they have. One, is the idea innovative or disruptive? Is it really offering something new? Is there a future with this idea? Secondly, will it generate employment, jobs? Really important. If you're trying to diversify an economy, is it making that possible for people to work there, to increase the employment opportunities? And third, is it scalable? Can it be exported? Is that idea that you can grow it here and then take that knowledge and that product or service, take it to the world? So when we examine from a business perspective now, with all of the prerequisites, the immigration background handled, we look and say, is the idea satisfying those three requirements? But behind the idea is the individual, is the intent of those people wishing to come to Canada through this program. Are they intent on building a business here? Are they motivated? Are they purposeful? Are they going to spend the time and the effort to build a business? If that's the case and the idea is solid and the other requirements are handled, which are very general, very, very visible on our website and of course the government website, we're on. We take them and we say, let's go. And we, from a business perspective, are focusing on that. Our mandate given by the government is to give every opportunity for that business to really make it. Given the time factor that they have, it's understood it's a startup. It takes time to mature and develop and sometimes create revenue. But we're in there working with a very hands-on approach to give them every opportunity to qualify for residency on the business side while the lawyers do their part. So it's a marriage between the immigration and the business.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, so basically, as long as it's innovative, it's generating jobs, it is scalable globally, you are on board to interview them and check if they're if the purpose is there, the motivation, and the fact that they can also be successful.
Exactly.
And of course, provide them with all the support that you as a designated organization does. And that was my next question. What is the purpose of the designated organization, and how does an applicant or an immigration practitioner get that support from the designated organization?
Well, the designated organization is designated by the Canadian government to offer the opportunity to incubate an idea coming to Canada. They require anybody who wants to be part of this program to be incubated, to qualify. In fact, the designated organization has a unique responsibility of a yes or a no in terms of people coming to Canada. It's a heavy responsibility. We take it quite seriously. If the idea merits incubation, if all of the background immigration things are done well, then we're on board. And the idea can be just an idea. It could be more developed. Some incubators perhaps want a more developed idea, which is fine in their prerogative. For us, if the idea is solid and it might have merit, then we can still consider it. It doesn't disqualify them. The idea might have a MVP, a minimum viable product. It might be a prototype. It might even be revenue producing in some cases, all of which is fine for us in terms of where are they and what is their intent. At which point, if we qualify them, meaning they've passed the immigration background checks and so on, then they enter into the business incubator funnel, if you like. And it starts with obviously reviewing. We have a questionnaire on our website that they fill out, and followed by then, as you in your business, as you know, the business plan and the pitch deck, and ultimately an interview to determine if there's a fit. They have to feel comfortable with us. We have to be comfortable with them, meaning we can work together, that there is an intent on both sides. Our intent is always there. We want to make sure that they feel comfortable and will be well served. And then once that's in place, then there is a contractual, and then the letter of support, of course, is provided, and we begin our program, which I'm sure we'll discuss in more detail, which is a 6-month program to incubate them through the steps of our program to allow them every opportunity to grow, to start to incubate that business, to look at opportunities within Canada. Our program has a very specific steps and milestones that they hit, and they're in good shape thereafter as part of their application for permanent residency, of course, to have all of the requirements filled.
Thank you, Mark. And let's talk about the program. So you said it's 8 steps, that it takes 6 months. We would love to know about what the program entails.
Sure. First, I would say that the program itself is proprietary. It is a program developed years ago and now in use globally by organizations and even master's programs, as you mentioned at the beginning. It's a new way to look at things. The Think8 name comes from obviously looking at business from a different perspective. And the 8 is relative to the 8 stages of the program. So the program goes something like this. In the beginning, once they have the letter of support, we have an introduction or orientation to our proprietary system. It's a training part of the program, not like school, fun. And not that school can't be fun, but in our way, they're learning the basics of how we think about business. They have access to videos and written materials, a lot they can do in their own time that orients them to a way to look at business, a way to look at the market, a way to look at innovation, a way to look at consumerism, all these basics. And then it gets into the actual stages of our program so they have an orientation to how we think about building a business. With that in mind, They get a certificate basically to say they've completed the basic training, but this is all after the letter of support, so they're not done before. We're actually in the program. And as they're doing the orientation introduction to our system, they're already applying it to their own business. We have personal connection with them online at this point often, and they can then understand how we see their business and how our tools can help them. And we have essentially started the program. And then the program in the 8 stages include things like understanding the why of their business, the purposefulness of it. And when I say why, I don't mean just what the product or service is offering. I'm talking about what moves them, what motivates them to even bring their expertise and their background to even engage in that particular project. Then we get down to a valuable final product in terms of their value proposition, why they would want to, offer that to the consumer from a consumer point of view, the consumer research that they've done. We look at then their business modeling. Is there a refinement necessary? We look at their business plan. We're reviewing all of the stuff that we received initially to determine how it might align within the Canadian environment, and also to grow a business even beyond what they thought was possible. Thereafter, we look at narrative. How do they communicate this? This is so important. And one of the steps from our background, obviously in television and film, we come from a very rich background in the film production side, Emmy winning and all that. We've had a lot of experience in communication and have worked with marketing companies around the world as well. We know then how to help them form their narrative. How are they going to talk about it? Ultimately, how do they pitch to investors? All the while that they're going through these various steps, some seem very basic, but our tools go deeper into really examining the real value, the fundamental gift of their idea to a market, and the match between the manufacturer or producer and the public, getting that very, very clear. Ultimately, how to communicate that. All the while, we're introducing them as needed to investment opportunities. We have a team of technical experts that are part of our team that look at under the hood, if you like, how is the technology going. We have expertise in IT and AI and VR. We're non-sectorial in the sense that regardless of the idea coming to us, we have a team that can analyze and really engage with the founders, the applicants, in building that business to where it needs to be and where it can be offered not only to the consumer, but obviously to funding opportunities as well. The 8 stages take them through all the fundamentals that we have found are essential to building a business. And these are the foundational pillars, if you like, that were researched. And a bit of this kind of going back a bit, and I think it'll be helpful to your audience here in terms of when I say 8 steps. Back in Hollywood, these 8 steps came about from understanding what makes a successful media product, a film, a TV project, a movie, an album, music. It was really understanding the sort of predictability. Can you sort of essentially know where you're going with a business or an opportunity? Is it possible to identify key pillars that any business or any activity needs to grow? And so it was reductive in the sense of 8 points emerged that helped understand how a company could be successful. And in the research, it was found that those companies or media companies, when they were successful, they had addressed to a greater degree these 8 points. When they were less successful, they had omitted one or the other. So it was an interesting examination over many years of application that these 8 points seem fundamental to building a successful enterprise. And these 8 points are now the basis of the 8-step program that we have, the 8-stage program. And we take them through, but they've now already been introduced to the tools, so they're using it more fluidly. The activity at the moment, of course, is online. Some wish to come to Canada, and we can set them up where they can have on-site experience with us as well. But the program itself is designed to take them step by step in milestones through a program and ultimately end up with something that they know and feel comfortable with that really gives them the foundation to build that business and a future here.
Thank you very much, Mark. That seems like something that would definitely line them up for success. And that's what it's all about, right? Mark, you said that that it takes around 6 months. So the 8 steps, they all happen within that time frame of 6 months, correct?
Correct. We find
Okay.
6 months is an adequate time to really build the opportunity. They're coming with the idea, they have expertise themselves, they've been in business, they have the passion, they have the intent. And what we're trying to do is provide them with a runway that allows them to construct first refined architecture or blueprint. We call it a dynamic blueprint that allows them to see all the moving parts of their business. They've seen it before they come to us to a degree. We're helping them through an incubation process, see the totality of what's possible. And then we take them through, break that down, and go deeper with each of these steps. Within that 6 month framework, they have the basics. And it's very surprising sometimes how far they will advance. Our intent is that we really want them to be ready for launch. Some may not launch or start a revenue opportunity down the road because, as anyone knows, a startup takes time, but they have the basics to be able to grow that business out and to connect with those parties necessary from a funding, an alignment point of view, a strategic alliances point of view, partnership point of view, to really set the stage that they have every opportunity to make it within Canada.
Excellent. So it's about really defining what they're going to do, adapting it to Canada, and also providing them with the tools on an incubation basis, and including the networking part of it, which is so important, that they get to know other parties that are going to be very important for them to develop themselves, whether there are partnerships or service providers that can help with what they need. So that's helping them have those opportunities and make sure that they use them in their favor to hope that also the idea can become successful, right?
Exactly. I think you said it. Networking, cultural education, and whatever. All these things are part and parcel of it. They want to know what kind of ecosystem exists, who can they talk to, what other services are provided. They even sometimes get into naturally where are they going to live, and ultimately what is the life of their kids. Like they're moving a business, but they're moving a life, and I think we don't lose sight of that. But a network is really important, and the expertise that us and other incubators can provide to these people really allows them to get a scope of what's it like to start a business in this country. Some of the rules, the laws may be a little different in other countries. Of course they are. Some of the access to capital may be different. Where do you go? What grants might be available to them depending on the project they're doing, if it's very tech-based or other types of projects as well. So they really have to get an overview, a 360 of the country as well as their business. And again, it comes down to, as I said at the beginning, and you know so well, the intent. If they're dedicated to doing it, they get all the support they need. Everybody is open arms to go, let's go. You have an idea. That's why it's so critical to make sure that the idea has marketability. It is something that can really work and is worthy of the support that they're going to get from a designated organization like ourselves.
And that makes startup visa applicants very lucky, because this is I'm now in the dark. Here I am again. So it makes them lucky, because at some point all entrepreneurs who are coming to Canada would be flattered to receive a service like this and an incubation process like this, so that it could guarantee success. So I see a lot of the startup visa applicants that receive a letter of support very, very fortunate to have the possibility of getting all this help to make sure things go well with their business. So that's an amazing purpose to have as a designated organization, of course.
Well, we are very honored to be one, and those other incubators and angel organizations as well, and part of the NACO group, for example, are very privileged. This program is unique in Canada and maybe one or two other countries, from what we understand. And to have the responsibility to build an opportunity for somebody to help them build that is really a privilege. And I know everybody that we've talked to within this space, and other incubators as well, who we've gotten to know in this space, are dedicated, and they work very hard. We know less because we realize that it is a responsibility, and they are mandated to use an incubator on the business side of things. And so in order to provide that, we really examined our program. We took what works with our international clients and large and small companies and said, now what can we do and how can we take this program and make it doable for them in that 6-month program? And it is enough time truly to do the job. And again, we are working with the start part of the introduction to how we work and our tools, and then moving through to the application of those tools. And along the way, of course, we are intersecting. It isn't all online. When I say online, meaning it isn't, they're getting our expertise one-on-one. I think one of the things that should be noted here for us and where we take great pride in is that we don't work in cohorts. We are one-on-one, meaning an applicant comes in and from the get-go, they're working with us. The cohort thing we have used very successfully in, say, university training and those kinds of programs, but we're finding the work for us works best when they're getting the one-on-one. We can isolate the issues that they have. They have access to us. We meet with them regularly. Our program is designed to have that interaction all the time. We document everything that they're doing so that they, at the end of the day, can get a full breakdown and report of how they have worked with us, which then serves their application ultimately for the permanent residency. So it's a really hands-on approach that we like to do. We do it anyway all the time. This isn't new. This is what we do every day. But in the context of the Startup Visa program, being able to really understand them, relate to their issues, and hands-on kind of unstick them if they're stuck and move them through the milestones of our program so they're hitting each of these points. And then ultimately they've completed their points. They get a certificate indicating they've completed our program. And of course, that's useful in terms of their application down the road for the permanent residency.
Certainly, Mark. And that's the ultimate purpose, the immigration side of things as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we know how long it takes. You did mention before explaining the program that there are certain things that you expect to receive from applicants. So can we go back a little bit to that? And I'm going to ask my team also to share the information about the website link that they can find the information in, and also the email that they can write in order to get in touch with the team. But let's talk about that. What are you expecting initially for people to apply for the letter of support through Think8?
Well, it starts with eligibility. If you go to our website, you'll see the first thing is eligibility. What we mean by that is through lawyers or representatives in the legal front that can handle the immigration side of things. We want them to feel comfortable, them and the lawyers, of course, that they qualify for potential immigration to Canada. That's over there. That's not our initial concern. Our concern, of course, we have to validate that, but we're not handling that. That's the legal side. Where we enter the picture is we receive an idea, let's say from an applicant or a series of applicants. We immediately would say, please fill out our questionnaire. It's a comprehensive questionnaire that allows them to really explain what they're bringing to market, what they wish to bring to market, who they are, their background, what moves them, their interest in coming to Canada, and their interest in the incubation process itself. So with that, we can then guide them in terms of perhaps an early interview. We're very open to those things where we're saying, well, let's talk, let's connect. What are your considerations? Who are you? What are you trying to do? In the questionnaire that we provide, it'll indicate whether it's just an idea in development, if it's a MVP, a minimum viable product, if it's a prototype. That kind of information is useful to us to know where to engage in that conversation. When we understand that, we can then guide them and say, okay, in order to accept you into the program, we will need the following: a business plan, a pitch deck, and interview you. Those three things are very baseline. And they're in the government information. It's the bottom line materials that they would need to assess it. But in advance of that, we are very proactive in ensuring that they're on the right track. If they have an idea, we think it has merit, or the beginnings of the business plan, we're proactive in saying, you know what, you should think a bit more of this or that. Or in other words, get involved in saying, had you thought of go and do some more homework, or you'll need a bit more of this and that, in order to ensure that they have every opportunity to have a proper business plan on their own initiative, because we have to accept them at the end, saying that business plan, we can justify taking them on. We can justify that the pitch deck is solid, the financials make sense. And through an interview, of course, we get to know them even more. It might be the second or third interview, depending on how we feel, in terms of the engagement and what they might need of us and us of them. I think also important while they're going through that process is they have to understand the financial commitments, not just the cost of this whole program, but the investment opportunities that they're going to need. How much do they need to live in Canada? Canada has specific baseline in terms of money needed to live for a year, for example. Very modest, but it's in the materials. For us, in terms of the amount of investment, they can ask us for this kind of idea. What do we think? It's a case-by-case basis, very customized, because some people might need more capital if they're building a whole platform or whatever. Other might need less to do more research, market analysis, and so on. But it has to be sufficient for them to be able to build out, certainly for the 6 months and beyond, their idea. So we advise them on that. We have business consultants within our company, of course, that are very specialist in business modeling, financial investment opportunities, and so forth. So, but at the end of the day, when we look at the final thing, we like the business plan. It shows potential. We like the pitch deck. It's nice. It's a good pitch, but the business plan is quite comprehensive. The interview seems comfortable, and it's not an audition. By that time, we're feeling comfortable. It's really to understand any outstanding questions, anything at all that might be a concern to them, anything that we can add to them that would help them understand what they're getting into. So it's very, very clear, very transparent. All being well, we're ready to go. So really it boils down to a questionnaire, a business plan, a pitch deck, interview or two, and then if we feel comfortable, we're ready to go.
That's great, Mark, and that's important that happens, because those introductory interviews, it's something that not a lot of people get to see from all designated organizations, because a lot of designated organizations are very busy right now. So a lot of it is very streamlined. Send us your information and we'll see if it works or not. In this case, I like that approach. It's more human, it's more consultative. So that's always important. I wanted to stop there a little bit to explain how Joorney helps with the business plan.
Sure.
So as a completely separate service at Joorney, we have determined a startup visa package specifically for Think8. So what we do is that we prepare a business plan, full format Word document. We also prepare a pitch deck. And we also have, for companies that are, I would say, at a more mature stage, also the option of having a financial model. So what we're doing within the business plan and the pitch deck is also integrating the questions that Think8 has, so that those are also covered within the documents. And that way, Think8 will have everything they need to make the decision whether they are going to provide the letter of support or not. So I just wanted to put that out there so that our immigration consultants and our immigration lawyers and also potential applicants can know how we're helping. And of course, that in no way guarantees that they'll get a letter of support or that the idea is eligible. But on our end, we want to make sure that all the documents are in line and that they are argumented and that they have the research and the proper structure of what it should entail, so that the designated organization, in this case Think8, can make the ultimate decision. So
Exactly.
So I wanted to mention that. And also, Mark, sorry, go ahead, Mark.
No, I would say, we've appreciated the work when we've engaged in your business plans. You've really helped them, and they're excellent, I have to say.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Mark. I really appreciate it. And then I was going to go back to another topic that you mentioned, which are the fees. So I know a lot of people are interested to know how much things cost in general. But you have said to us that there are companies that are in different stages. There are different situations for different people. So it is very custom quote, correct? So it's not a package or a flat fee or anything like that. It's rather fees that may vary depending on the conversations that you have, correct?
Indeed. the number of applicants, the degree of development, and so forth. I mean, it's a very customized approach, as you say. I think it's also appropriate. The relationship that we have, say, with organizations like you on a non-exclusive basis, because we're very open to working with everyone. And I say to agents and consultants who may be part of this webinar as well, Think8 is very autonomous in the sense of it's non-exclusive. It really is looking for the kinds of applicants who have a sincere desire to build a business in Canada. And the relationship with them is no different than the relationship we have with the agents, consultants around the world. That relationship is really important. They need to understand our needs. We need to understand their needs. Again, it's a team. And when that team is fluid and the opportunities are there for everyone in terms of this whole program, it really is a smooth process, because while we are carrying what we need to do, we are looking to them for the intake of finding applicants that are deserving of and ready for this. I would call it an adventure, because I believe it is one. And we look at it this way. I think, we're talking very seriously about the program and so on, but I'd like to just take a moment and just say that while it's a business and business incubator, and you're into your business and agents are theirs, and all of the accountants and everybody involved. I've been in these forums in international, I've given a keynote in international immigration conferences, and it's a very serious business on the one hand, because people's lives, and it's not to be taken lightly. On the other hand, at Think8 and my wife and our team, we love what we do, and we never lose that fact. And while it's serious and we get to work, I think we also appreciate the magic of the opportunity to even be in this business of helping people. We chose to get into the SUV because of an interest in what it can do for the country, and giving people the opportunity to really realize their dreams. For us, it's not a light thing. So many people probably watching started with the dream of building a business, maybe very entrepreneurial spirit. Some built many have built their own businesses from scratch. And you know what it's like. And what help was provided. You can imagine coming to this country cold, or going to any other country. It's not easy. And so we are, when we say human, I don't mean with lacking a sense of fun or humor, because I guess our intent here is to make it as simple as possible, given if they are intent and that they have the desire and they have the background and the willingness to do it. We're all in. And it should be simple that way. If they do their homework, if the agents and all the consultants that are sending people to us, and we thank them for that, by the way, we should all be really on the same page here. And while it's business and investment is involved, I don't want to lose the joy of it, because when we see it work, and somebody gets that residency, or somebody builds a business that they didn't think they could build to that degree, there's a joy in that. And Canada benefits, and they benefit, and then the world benefits, because you're exporting their idea to the globe. And to watch that thing happen, it brings a smile to us. But I think for many of you listening as well, we're aware of your part in this, and it's not a solo trip here. There is a partnership, like we have on occasion with Joorney, when they send us a business plan that somebody has presented to them, and we go, really cool, Otherwise, we get agents who are sending people, and we go, thank you for that. Those people are wonderful. The idea is mind-boggling. Let's go. Let's work together. I think that's so critical. So I see it as a holistic thing. It's not just change the world. It's really all of us working together to try to make this program work, and to justify that the government continues to support it as they're doing, and upping the number of people that can come on the program. It's so unique in the world, honestly, that it's a privilege to be even part of it.
Definitely, Mark. It's the underlying purpose. It's working as a team, and we see it too, because we are grateful for all the immigration consultants and immigration lawyers that we work with, because And we have this conversation sometimes. People are like, you should have done this in the business plan. Why didn't you do that? And then my emails to them are saying, we're on the same side. We're on the same side for that applicant. We're on the same side for that family that is behind the business plan. So
Yeah.
are we going to work together? That's the encouragement. So it's about working in community, working as a team. And I also agree, Mark, because the startup visa in Canada is an example for the rest of the world. I know the United States, they want to do something similar. They haven't been able to. There are other countries that have had it that they may not have been as successful. And we are advocates of the startup visa in itself as well. We want to make sure that things are done properly, that because the purpose behind it is bringing in the talent, bringing in the families that will make a change inside of Canada. So we agree. I mean, I completely agree that it's working as a team, and that the purpose needs to be clear behind it, so that so that we can express and work towards what it really stands for, right?
Absolutely.
So
And
that's
I think
extremely important.
indeed, and what we get from the lawyers and people who are, sending these applications through, what the government looks at from all that we've been able to understand is primarily, obviously the idea has to be solid, but it's the intent. Did they get involved? Did they contribute? Did they bring an idea that's worthy of incubation? Are they sincere about wanting to come here and build a business in the future? For us, it's easy to assess that at the front end. And regardless of whatever apparent complexity there might be in background checks and all that, which really doesn't have to be, we wanted to make the process simple. The yes or no part of it is easy to understand, and it's not a fault if somebody doesn't qualify. We'll, even at that point, by the way, we'll say, well, why don't you go back and do this? Or maybe that idea needs more thoughtfulness. We don't just, it's not just a no. We try to be helpful in recognizing that they're coming from a unique experience right now or circumstance, and we want to honor that. So the no still has hope where hope is warranted. And certainly for those who do qualify, they're ready to go to work.
Mm-hmm. Mark, there was something that I wanted to ask, but I missed. How long does it take from when somebody submits all the documentation, the questions, etc., until they get an approval or information that they didn't get accepted? How long does that part take before even the program starts?
Okay, lovely question. Given that they have done the front end work of getting a business plan, a pitch deck, and the interview, all of that, they're up to that point. There may be a back and forth. There may be advising, refining, telling them to go back and get the business plan more, whatever. It's not quite. Again, only if we see the potential. So they're having some confidence that we like the basic idea, but they have to do the homework and finish it up. That's on them, meaning that whatever time it takes, whether they spend a day or 2 days or a month to do that. But once we have it, the questionnaire, the business plan, the pitch deck, and the interview, and we have that, from the time of review to the, given all the pieces are in place, we're talking from there to whatever, probably within 2 to 4 weeks. It's not a long time with the material available to us. We're not having.
Yeah, that's pretty fast.
Well, it's fast because we've done all the homework. We've got experts going. We're looking at it. We analyze a business plan. So when we get that final business plan, we're on it. So I would say maybe 4, maybe more, 6, but only if there's something that doesn't work and going back. But we're talking weeks, not months. But it shouldn't be longer, because if we have professional eyes on it, we can see the modeling, we can see the marketability, we can see the scalability. Again, to reiterate, we do this every day in our day-to-day work. The SUV is just bringing that know-how to the SUV program per se, but our day in, day out is exactly that. So the team knows how to analyze, knows how to look at potential. If there are questions, we'll get back to the applicant and the agent or lawyer, whomever's representing them, and advise them, I think this is required. You might think more of this, or I think your timeline of profitability maybe so-and-so. And they'll, take a look at it, go back to the drawing board. But we also recognize that when we get that package, there is going to be growth. We do get asked on occasion, well, we have the plan, will it change? And we say, well, when you work with us, I hope it does, because I hope it grows. I don't want it to be static, like there it is, there's nothing much to do, we've done it. When we put our eyes on it and working with them, of course it's going to grow. It's going to probably accelerate. It's going to look at revenue opportunities that they haven't seen before. That's the incubation. And it isn't mentoring per se, like here's how to do a budget. It is really a hands-on consultancy, business builders. We're really in the business design business, and we're saying to them, this is something, take a look at this. This is now within the program with us. So they're getting growth, they're getting, acceleration, they're getting all of those things that anyone would want to advise better of how to build that out and get every opportunity.
Definitely, Mark. And a couple of more questions before we go to the Q&A.
Sure.
What are the industries that Think8 is looking for? And is there a profile specific for a candidate or startup ideas that you want to align letter of support for?
Well, we are actually open to any good idea. The only thing that doesn't qualify in our experience has been an example, and I gave it earlier, I think, somebody has a donut shop and they want to open another donut shop. Now that's an extreme example, but what I'm saying here is that it has to be innovative, and it has to be, often they're technology ideas or tech-enabled ideas, but we really evaluate it on its own. When you say tech, people think of deep tech and high tech and so forth, but it can be very, very progressive in the concept and value that it brings to the consumer ultimately, and it is exportable and it'll generate jobs. So we are agnostic in the sense of open to it. We have specialists that can cover fintech and biotech and business model design and all of those things. So we have the capacity to evaluate, but we're looking at the innovation, the potential for a real business to have every opportunity to grow in Canada export. So we're not limited to that.
Okay.
As I said, it covers a wide range, but we've assembled and have in our team for years that kind of depth that can do this. Again, as I said earlier, we've already been in the international market. We've been around, as they say, and out there dealing with banks and dealing with startups and AR companies and high tech and media companies and you name it. It's all of the technical and semi-technical operations out there. We've touched and been involved in, built with them. So we're quite adept at being in tune with the market and also the international market. So we have no limitation, in short, to accept an idea. If it's solid, and again, the people behind it are genuine and they say, let's go, let's really make this happen.
Great. So that's good news. Industry agnostic. The stage at which the venture is at also, it doesn't make a difference in this case. And the fact that it's authentic, innovative, and that the team is genuine behind it to make it happen. Yeah. Okay, thank you for that, Mark. So you've mentioned it a few times that you are open to working with immigration consultants and lawyers, and not only with the applicants. And I want to highlight this because we've had different designated organizations as guests in our webinars, and that's one of the most important things, because in our model, for example, we work very closely with our partners who are immigration consultants and immigration lawyers. So it's also good that you have that option as well. Other designated organizations only talk to applicants. So I just wanted to highlight that, and I don't know if you want to comment on that specifically.
No, I think fair question. Obviously we get a lot of interest from applicants directly. And that's fine, and that's welcome. We also appreciate when an agency or a consultant says we have somebody special, we feel that they would qualify. What do you think? And we wouldn't close the door on that at all, because that's somebody wanting to come to Canada. Again, our criteria remain the same. As I've stated earlier in this webinar, if they satisfy certain requirements and consistent with what we do for the applicants, we're not changing it for the immigration consultants, their applicants still would qualify with the same standards that we apply, government standards and our own standards in terms of what would be acceptable to us to incubate. So regardless of where they come, we can have a conversation with them and say, how do we, in those relationships, ensure that the client is going to be well served? And that's primary. And then how do we work from the business perspective to make it worthwhile for us to engage together as a relationship, partnership, and whatever. But applicants and agencies have already been in touch in abundance, as any incubator can attest. There is no shortage of demand to come to Canada, increasingly, as you know. It's how we then work best together to ensure the opportunity is satisfied for these applicants who genuinely want to come and have the knowledge base and the idea worthy of development.
Thank you, Mark, for giving immigration consultants and lawyers like a framework of what they can expect by working with Think8.
Mm-hmm.
So before we jump to Q&A, I know that you are releasing a new book. So I wanted you to tell us a little bit about that before we go into the Q&A.
You're so kind. You should be our agent, right? No, it's actually the system I've talked about that we use is proprietary. It was developed, and it is a patented system used globally and increasingly in the US and internationally, and Canada, of course, and universities. MIT is using some of our material as well. So the book, since you raised it, fair enough. It is coming out in a couple of months. It'll be announced. It's just the Think8 process. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but
8 steps to ignite your creative genius. Yes.
Right. It's all about the creative background of our work, which at the end of the day, it's really about that. I mean, the whole thesis here and it gets into the background of the development of the idea and so forth, and the whole system is really that the only major block to success in our experience has been a lack of creative solutions to solve it. And this book deals with that and generating that creative capacity for an individual or organization to maximize their potential and achieve results beyond their expectations. And it's already getting wonderful reviews and all that. But all of which to say is that those tools are the tools we're using to assist in the incubation period. It is our proprietary system that we find has been very successful for companies, and we are delighted to be able to bring it to this opportunity. So thank you for the plug. But
of course.
But really, it is the sincere work behind it, and my wife Nancy and I, as authors and people out there, really have made that choice to bring our expertise and our background and experience to the SUV program, and all of the team members that we have are likewise dedicated to it. So it's, I think, important, as you've talked about, is if we work in combination and together, we can solve anything creatively. The SUV is an incredible opportunity program that enables so many people, and so many people can participate in it, and us no less. So that's why we're open to applicants, to people like yourself and so on, to be able to share that opportunity and make it work for everybody. So again, we feel very honored to be part of the program. We never take it for granted anytime. But anyway, happy to answer any questions that may arise here.
Yes, definitely, Mark. Thank you. And please let us know once you launch it so we can also tell everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get started with the questions. I have a few questions here. There are some questions about the fees, but as I explained previously, you can reach out to Mark. The email that they have for the Startup Visa program, it's canadastartupvisa@think8.co. Okay, so you can reach out to them directly, and then they can discuss specifically what the fees entail. So I'm going to go ahead and answer some of the other questions, or ask them for Mark to answer. So I have a question. Thank you, Phil Mooney. Phil Mooney asks, do you have examples of innovative ideas that you have worked on?
I can give a general example of things. Again, respecting the privacy of some of the people, but for example, there is medical devices that assist healing that are already being piloted in hospitals in other countries. And it is a system that speeds healing through a unique method. And it could be used in emergency rooms and elsewhere. That's an example of one. We have other things that talk about innovations to create the next generation of smart home. For example, you've seen a lot of things out there. What we are looking at when we deal with those kinds of programs, or rather innovations, is because we know the market and we're out in the market, we can tell them very quickly, there's already something exactly like that. But even if it's similar to that, it doesn't mean that that idea doesn't have merit. It can be done in a unique way. So smart homes would be another example. We've had technology on food refinement, for example, and ways to process food in a much more healthy and much more eco-friendly way. So it's agrarian opportunities in terms of how to grow and technology for growth of farmlands and so on. I think the innovation world now, and anybody who's receiving these ideas, incubators like ourselves or agents and people on this call, on this webinar, realize the scope of originality that's coming our way, things we would never thought about. Our job, as your job in selecting and finding these things, is to really help them build that future. So these are technology based. We've had anywhere from legal practices to, again, and the systems approach, a lot of AI growing naturally in terms of operational systems. And it's really interesting because we have the know-how to be able to look and understand the coding, very helpful, because that is a whole science in itself. So I guess there's really no limit, but I think the thing to keep in mind is it innovative or disruptive by any definition? It doesn't have to be only technological, but technical assisted would be more inclined to that. But that's a pretty broad range of opportunity there. So I hope that answers your question. But, you know, again, the things that are coming our way, some of them are jaw-dropping. And that, that's a great idea. I wouldn't have thought of that. You know, amazing. And then we begin our process of understanding who they are, what they want to do, etc. Our process begins when they have that questionnaire, though they might ask in advance, help us, and what do you think? We'll say, go to our website. You'll see a very simple 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 step. It's very, very clear. There's a questionnaire there that helps the process for agents and so on who have interest in that. They can get in touch with us directly, or they can bring an applicant through that stream. Either way, they're going to find out very quickly how we see things, what help we can provide to them. It's very open.
Thank you, Mark. I have an interesting question. Rao asks, do incubators invest with capital in the startups? If so, will they take a stake in the startup? And also, how long is the incubation period typically? Well, that one we did say 6 months, but let's focus on, do incubators invest capital in the startup?
It's not uncommon. Incubators can. I've seen incubators do so. We don't, but it's not that we couldn't. That right now our focus is on that. We will, however, introduce people when and where appropriate to a network of investors. Obviously, investors are interested in what we're looking at because we're kind of on the cutting edge of what's coming from around the world. So naturally, they want to see what we're looking at, what we're developing. That's natural. And we have that system, that network, which allows that connection between the applicant and the money when it's required and when it's timed properly. And we certainly would help them with the pitch, of course, naturally. But per se, no, we're not investing directly in it. But incubators can, and by law, absolutely can, up to a certain point, but keeping in mind that the applicant, if you study the rules, and immigration will tell you very clearly, the controlling interest, the majority interest has to remain with the applicant and the company coming. But investment up to, I believe, 49% is possible from whatever quarter.
Thank you, Mark. There are a few questions about if you only work with startups looking to start a business in Quebec or across Canada.
Okay.
So under the startup visa program, can applicants work with you but be interested in establishing their business in another province?
I'm glad they asked, because It's a federal program, and an applicant has to live or work, however, outside of Quebec, even though we're headquartered in Montreal, Quebec. It's a federal program, not recognized specifically by the Quebec government, but it just means that an applicant can work anywhere in Canada other than Quebec, live and work. And because we are independent as an incubator, wherever the applicant would like to reside, build a business, and so on is fine with us, whether East Coast, West Coast, mid Canada, it doesn't matter. It's not a stop. Our services are available online. We also can help them set up wherever they might be and do some on-site training as required. But the majority of it, people are coming and being outside Quebec, the major cities naturally, but it's their choice. But unfortunately not Quebec right now.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. We have a question. We answered this, but I think it's worth emphasizing. In what degree can Think8 work with RCICs and the client together? Some incubators do not work with RCICs, but sometimes the clients build the trust with them. So that's an important piece.
We are already doing that. But I think it's imperative that that kind of consultant be expert enough or have access to proper, say, immigration know-how or lawyers or whatever. If they don't, and if they're wondering how they can put together a business plan or they need help, of course we can advise them. There are companies like yourself and others that we can say, look, we can introduce you to some really fine people who do business plans or provide other services, even recommend lawyers that we have. We have quite a network of immigration lawyers that have worked with us, so we know who they are. So we can help in the front end packaging, if you like, of the pitch to us. It's kind of sounds a bit roundabout, but really they're coming to us and they aren't represented or they need some kind of help or representation. We have to be objective. We have to have them do the work. And when that whole work is done, holistic work, we can then evaluate on its own merits, the business plan, pitch deck, etc. But that has to be arm's length. So we'll say, work with them, like a Joorney or others. Here's the lawyer, that's over to you. We're not involved in that. When the package comes to us, we can, on its own merits, evaluate and accept or not. So we don't close the door on at all immigration consultants. We would just check that they are well represented around them, that they have what they need in order to facilitate that applicant's journey to us. A little play on words, journey there, but intended. But,
thank you for that, Mark.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that's great to hear, because we're all for immigration consultants and lawyers, practitioners in general, to get that support for the applicants. So I have a question about the fees, but not the fees specifically. So it's more of a question about, when are the fees due? The first fees, is it before the assessment or after they get the letter of support?
It's actually before the letter of support in our case. Others might have different ways of doing so, but we do the assessment. There's no fees before the assessment. If by assessment they mean the qualification part. No, they're doing the work, they're getting our input, there's no fee on that. We're helping them ensure that they at least get every opportunity to build their case for us, but they have to do it on their terms, on their time as well. We can say, think about this, you hadn't thought about that, but then over to them and their team or whoever's advising them, because again, when it comes to us, we have to look at it on our merits. Our team has to evaluate it. When that is done, we then provide the contract saying, okay, it's on, here's the contract, and then the letter of support. So it begins then. So the fees come after the contract is signed and before the letter of support, but there's no, in our case, we're not charging in the front end of it. That's what we're providing, is a very proactive way of just ensuring that they have every opportunity to make it. If early on we feel that they don't have the real goods or the background experience, whatever, then we'll be honest with them and say, not yet, maybe in a year, talk to so-and-so or whatever. we try our best to direct them to a possibility because they made the reach, but we're very honest and say they don't qualify on the business side. They might on the immigration side, or we might say, look, maybe another incubator might be fine to take that at that level of development, and all the power to you, and I hope it works for you. So we don't leave them without some answer, some opportunity to move because they've made the reach. We respect that.
So they must have a probability of getting the letter of support before they are charged anything. I mean, so somebody who is not eligible on the business side, they won't be charged, correct?
No, the way it would work is we say yes, we send them our terms and conditions. They're comfortable with it for the 6-month program. They sign it, and then the fees that we had arranged with them, and then the issuance of the letter of support. Copies goes to them, copies goes to the government. So there's no fees in advance of that. When we say yes, it's simply a saying, okay, we're ready to go. If you're comfortable with the terms of agreement, and it's very fair. They go yes, signed, like any arrangement, any business arrangement, signing, any questions, back and forth, then fees, and then letter of support is issued, and we're ready to go. But in advance of that, all that prep time, it's helping them any way we can, but it's really on them to do the homework and to bring us a package that we can endorse.
Thank you, Mark. Now I'm going to take a question that has to do with the business plan. So do you have pricing for the Think8 business plan package as you do for other designated organizations? So yes, we do. In our case, we have flat fees. So we have different packages. There's a full format business plan. The price is 3,700 Canadian dollars. We have the pitch deck that is 2,600. So those are the individual documents. But when we do the package, then the price for the package of both full format business plan and pitch deck is going to be 5,500. And then if a financial model is added, then that's a different package, and that's going to be 9,500. So the package, again, the most common one that we've been doing for Think8 has been a full format business plan and a pitch deck at 5,500. And there is another question about the business plan asking that if the business plan needs some changes according to Think8, if we apply the changes, yes. So for the startup visa, we have 3 revisions. And then the final revision, we do the design of the document. So my recommendation would be that, or our recommendation would be that as soon as you have at least the first or second draft, that at that point Think8 can see it, and if there are any changes, they are still within our changes. Of course, we will then design it, and then if there's any reason that you need another, we can also be flexible. Of course, if you decide to change the whole business model, we may probably need to charge additionally, but I'm sure like we have a lot of business people here, so a lot of people will understand that part. So that's it on the questions for the business plan. The contacts for Mark and Think8 have been provided on the chat. If not, you can also reach out to me or our account managers, Tanya and Nicola, to get the information that you need. And if you want to be introduced, we can also do that, or you can send an email and say that you attended the webinar. So that's something that you can also receive, which is making sure that you can reach out to Think8. Mark, so no, just some final remarks if you want to provide for everybody who's here. We have, I think we had like almost 130 people connected at once. Right now, we still have around 110. So if you want to provide any closing remarks, we're here to listen to you.
Well, I think the basic closing remark is thank you for the attention, and thank you for the opportunity to express what we do and where we play a part in the startup visa program. I think it's a win-win-win for everyone if we do it right. And the government, bless them, have given this shot to us. It's a smart program. Other countries are really examining this, as we discover, because it really offers a solution to on a couple of fronts. One, to diversify the economy, and also to bring those talented and capable individuals to this country to grow it. So everybody wins if we just do it standardly. And companies like ourselves and other incubators and other NACO members and people like that, and people like yourselves watching, really have the opportunity to really find those deserving applicants, and working together, we can get the job done. As I said, it is an extension of what we do, but it's a very natural extension of the purpose of our own business, which is really to enable people to really achieve and actualize, their goals in life and business. And we've developed ways to help, and we look forward to finding relationships that will, be in alignment with our goals and values. And we've been very fortunate so far to find these kinds of relationships. Again, non-exclusive, because we're very open to finding those companies, individuals, organizations around the world that think like we think in terms of the desire to give the opportunity that the program offers. So really, I appreciate the opportunity, Mariella and your Marianella rather, and your staff for being amazing in setting it up. And as somebody from that show business background, you've done good. You've done good.
Thank you.
It's really, I think my last point, and I think just as a point of information and usefulness to everybody, and we found this, Nancy and I, in our work, because we worked with all the major stars and studios and whatever, as I said, highly credited. And what we found when we took that background to business, the one point that seemed the most difficult for companies, and I'm sure you're finding it, is how to communicate their idea.
Yeah.
The narrative has been the biggest block to interest people like ourselves even in the idea. And whatever the idea is, whatever the pitch is, how to express it. And you'd be amazed how many incredible ideas can't talk about what they're doing very well. And so the idea behind it is amazing. So what we're able to do, because we're familiar with this, we used to field 200 ideas a month or something coming from networks and so on in the show business side of things. But it applies to business. You have a brilliant idea. Oh, we're talking about ideas developed, but they can't pitch it very well, and they can't get money interested in it very well. So, we can help in that regard, because that pitch, if you like, your pitch deck, has to communicate the intensity, the quality, the magnificence of the idea. And our questionnaire that you can find on our website is designed to help somebody articulate that. So when we read it, we have a lot of insight into it. It's very useful. And then that questionnaire is very useful for companies like Joorney to be able to translate that into a business plan, along with input from the applicants themselves, because there it is, what we're looking at, how we see things. So I find that the biggest kind of problem that comes out. But anyway, I appreciate so much the opportunity to share what we do, and thank the team here for making it possible. And for those who joined, thank you for being a part of it as well. You're part of it. You for certainly are a part of it.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, for sharing your program. I'm personally really happy to know that Think8 is now a designated organization, because you can bring all that experience that you've already had in the international markets in order for new people that are coming into Canada as entrepreneurs to get that support from companies like you. So I think, like I said before, that startup visa applicants getting a letter of support are very fortunate to be working with such great organizations that can help them thrive and have great success in Canada. And then go back to the underlying purpose of the startup visa, which we are great advocates for: bring in talent, bring in innovative businesses, and bring in their families with them as well. So it's not only about immigration, not only about family, not only about business, but like you said, it's a holistic approach, so that these lives are impacted, and so is Canadian economy, right? Totally. So I would also like to thank everybody who attended. And also, as I said before, once the webinar has ended in a few minutes, you're going to receive the recording. And then after, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I'm going to share the YouTube link as well. And as always, you can reach us out in our email where you have received all the information. And if you need information about Think8, we can also provide it, and we've shared it in the chat. So thank you, everybody, for being here. We really appreciate it. See you soon. Bye, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.